When it comes to renting luxury and exotic vehicles, a lot of people think that you can just go and buy a luxury or an exotic car, you put it on Turo, you rent it out, and it's like literally that simple and that they're going to make all this money. The first thing is if you went ahead and did that, you would lose a lot of money right away. In fact, I've made mistakes like this when I grew my rental car company to $150,000 a month. In this video, I'm going to be going over the 5 things that I wish that I knew before starting my exotic and luxury car rental company. And I'm going to give you some tips that literally could have saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars. My name is Etienne. I built one of the largest exotic car rental companies in all of California using the consignment model, which means I didn't own most of the vehicles on the fleet. I've made a lot of money in that business, and I've also lost a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars to be specific. I scaled that company to $150,000 a month, doing over $1 million a year. These tips would have helped me save literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, which would have been my bottom line and which would have been profit and just more money in my pocket. So when it comes to luxury and exotic car rentals, a lot of my clients that I meet, they're very intrigued in the business model. And they think that as long as you have like a Lamborghini or something of that caliber and you just pop it on Turo or you just let people know on Instagram that you have it, you're going to get all these rentals and make a ton of money. And that's just not how it works in most markets. I want to help you avoid those stupid but simple mistakes. If this is a business that you're wanting to get into or that you've already started, you're definitely going to want to stay until the very end of this video. The number one tip I'm going to give you is don't buy a bunch of cars right away. That's literally how you're going to go broke right off the bat. I didn't really make this mistake in the beginning because I grew my business on the consignment model, which you can see in some of my other videos. I talk about that business model quite a bit. I can guide you through because I've seen other people make these mistakes in my business, meaning my investors. I have people in my business that will buy a car like a Corvette C8 or something. It does really, really well in the first couple of months and they get trigger happy. So they go out and they buy a bunch of cars. I've literally had an investor go and buy 9 cars within the span of a couple of months. And what they don't realize is that things do go wrong and they don't have enough in their back pocket to cover maintenance and to cover if the car has downtime and front the payment for a couple of months. Definitely, if you're starting and you have the credit or you have the capital, don't go and buy a bunch of cars. Take a slow approach. Diversify your fleet through investor vehicles. That's going to be the best way to do it. And when you are getting investors, don't tell them to go. Even if they're willing to, don't put them in a bad position because the last thing you want is investors hounding you that you put them in this terrible position and they're upside down on some of their payments. That's just something you don't want. What you want to do is you want to guide them on how to hedge their investments with the right vehicles and grow them just 1 or 2 at a time, not go out and buy 9 vehicles in the span of 2 months. That's definitely a mistake that you want to avoid, especially if you're just starting out. Chances are, if you're just starting out, you don't know which vehicles are actually going to perform well in your market. Just because a Lamborghini Huracan or a Ferrari 488 does really well in a market near you does not mean it's going to do well in your market. So you really have to study the market, get into it with some lower tier vehicles until you realize what cars are in demand, what people are asking for, and really what's just going to be home run cars. Also, another big factor is going to be what cars are reliable, what cars have slower depreciation curves, and what cars are really just going to cost you less in maintenance. And the biggest thing is not even maintenance. If you're purchasing the right vehicles, you're hopefully going to have warranties on these vehicles for bigger problems. You should also have good mechanic connections near you for general maintenance so that those costs are low. The biggest mistake that can happen with the wrong vehicle purchase is unreliability, which is going to cause downtime on those vehicles. So if those vehicles are financed, you're going to be coming out of pocket while those vehicles are getting fixed. The number 2 tip I'm going to give you to avoid when starting your luxury or exotic car rental company is renting to bad people. Good renters are literally everything. One bad renter can literally make up for 10 good renters. You're going to want to be very picky with your renters. I've had renters that seem good on the surface. They'll literally have a car for 6 months. They're essentially printing you money. You make all this money and then something goes wrong. I have some stories that I'm not going to get into in this video, but essentially you can lose a lot of money. You can wipe out all the profits you made. And then now, because maybe it's a consignment vehicle and you're under contract, you got to make sure that that vehicle comes back in good condition. Something that if the owner saw that, is not just normal wear and tear. Sometimes you have to spend a lot of money to get the vehicles back to that position. The renter can ghost you. Maybe you don't have a deposit. I'll give you some tips right now on things to look out for. Your renter selection is going to be a big part of what's going to determine if you're going to be a profitable rental car company or not. Sometimes bad renters are young folks. And I'm not saying all young people are bad renters. I have had young clients that become some of my best clients, but they're just things that you need to look out for within those clients. As you do this business, you will learn things to look out for, but a lot of them, they don't have a major credit card, right? That's like a number one thing for me. I require a major credit card for security deposit. That leads into the next thing. A lot of renters will try to say, well, can I just not do a deposit, or can I do a cash deposit or a debit card deposit? And a lot of these people are really good at influencing you because they do end up spending a lot of money. So in the past, I've been lenient and I own up to these mistakes. In the very beginning of when I started this journey, there was times where I didn't take a deposit, or I took a very low deposit, or I took a deposit on a debit card, and eventually things happen, and then you can't get your deductible. You can't pay for the damages because the debit card is tapped out. The cash is not enough. Those are really big things that you definitely want to avoid, and just being very picky about who you rent to. Right away, you can spot red flags with bad renters typically. If anything, if I've learned one thing from running this business, is to trust your gut. If you have a bad feeling about a renter, sometimes it's better not to make the $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and it's better just to let them go. Maybe they would have been okay, but at the end of the day, if you're going to lose sleep over it, it's just not worth it. This goes without saying, but bad renters also include people who are going to give you fake insurances and fake identities. These are obviously just malicious people that are going to try to steal your car, or they don't have adequate coverage. So when something does happen, you're going to be screwed. These are all things that you want to learn how to look out for. You don't want to take a photo of someone's license, a photo of their insurance, and just assume that they're good to go. You definitely want to do your checks and make sure that they are qualified to rent your vehicles. Number 3 thing that's going to lose you a lot of money to your competitors is going to be, you're going to want to make sure that your listings are super professional, that you have really good photos, good lighting, that you give all the attractive angles of a vehicle, you have good media production, you have good presentation. You want to make people rent your car over a competitor. What you have to know is in the luxury and exotic car rental market, especially in most major cities, a lot of people are brokering vehicles from each other. If you go on a website, you can try it in the market that I was in San Diego. Go look up a Lamborghini Huracan. There's going to be 5 different companies listing the same Huracan. Chances are it was a Huracan from my company. Some of them are going to be higher priced. Some of them are going to be lower priced. What really comes down to is the presentation of your business. Does your business look more legit than another business? Does your listing look more attractive than another listing on someone else's website? You're going to want to make sure that you're the cream of the crop when it comes to your market, and that you look super legit. There's some companies out there even that will list your car that you've never spoke to, that you've never approved to broker to. They're literally scam companies. I've had clients call me like, hey, I booked your Lamborghini Huracan. This has literally happened to me. I booked your Lamborghini Huracan, and this guy took a $500 deposit to reserve the date. Now he's ghosting me. He's blocking me. What's going on? Let's say, hey, did you talk to this guy or this guy? Nope. Well, those are not my company. They're not affiliated with me. And a lot of those websites, they look like scam websites. And some clients fall for it because they're lower price or whatever. So you're just going to want to make sure that your listing is cream of the crop. You look legit. You are legit. Just give a good presentation when it comes to your socials and your website. If you've been enjoying this video and you're looking to scale your own car rental company that you're already operating, or you're looking to start a car rental company, I do offer one-on-one mentorship. You can apply for that in the link below. So click the link, book a call with me, and we'll see if you're qualified or if this is something that you want to do. The number 4 thing that you're going to want to avoid is relying purely on insurance. What I mean by that, it might sound kind of contradicting. You are going to be relying on insurance. If a client hands you an insurance or a binder, first of all, it could be fake. The next thing is that it could have everything you want: bodily injury, uninsured motorist, property damage, comprehensive and collision coverage. And you're like, oh, this policy is good to go. Maybe the coverage limits aren't adequate for something that could happen. Maybe that policy doesn't transfer over to rental vehicles, or maybe it's just a fake policy. You don't want to rely on insurance. It's all about risk management in this business, because even when claims do happen, everything checks out, everything's legit. Dealing with insurance can be a nightmare regardless. Even if you have commercial coverage on your vehicle and you're renting it out and you have a CSL and you have all these things, it's still going to be a nightmare to deal with insurance. They could kick you off your policy. There's going to be a lot of back and forth surrounding what actually happened in the accident or in the incident. And even if everything's legit and verified beforehand, it can just be a pain in the butt. Even with your own personal vehicle, if you're driving down the street and something happens, your own insurance company could give you hell to go back and forth. Obviously, there's a way to handle these claims and the nature of these claims. And over time, you get good at dealing with insurance agents and with insurance adjusters. You want to avoid those situations happening in the first place. You want to make sure that your insurance checks are airtight, that you're not just relying on a piece of paper or the word for someone saying, I have full coverage. You got to understand what full coverage means. There is no true full coverage, and a real insurance person will tell you that. Full coverage just means that they have property damage, they have uninsured motorist, bodily injury, comprehensive and collision, and sometimes even other things within that policy. And that's what kind of determines a full coverage policy. I've had renters on the phone where I'm like, yo, you got full coverage policy? And they're like, yeah, I got full coverage. And then I go and verify that policy and all they have is liability. You definitely don't want that. You want to make sure that you're good to go and you're really just managing risk. With any insurance in any business, you don't ever want to have to use insurance. Obviously, when it comes to car rentals, there are going to be situations where you do have to deal with insurance and use insurance. Just ahead of time, make sure you have all your stuff in check. And it really comes down to risk management. Again, even if you have commercial coverage, a CSL, and all those things. The last thing that's really going to make or break your business, I sort of touched on it in the beginning of the video, but it really is going to come down to your vehicle selection. And it's not going to be the volume of vehicles that you're buying, but it's going to be the type of vehicles that you're buying. Because you can buy the same vehicle in a different trim option, and that can literally make a world of a difference when it comes to being profitable or not in the business. For example, when it comes to certain cars, you're not going to want to buy them brand new or even slightly used. You're going to want to wait several years because the depreciation curve on them is so heavy that the car could be printing you so much money, but by the end of it, it's almost worthless and it's just not worth renting out. Also, sometimes renters, they just don't really want to pay the difference for the type of vehicle. You could be renting out a 2015 Rolls-Royce Ghost and you could be renting out a 2020 Rolls-Royce Ghost, and the purchase price and the rental price are not justifiable, meaning that the difference in price you're going to charge on your daily rental rate is not justifiable to the difference in price that caused you to purchase the vehicle. And on top of that, that vehicle that's more expensive is going to depreciate so much faster that you're really not making that much money at the end. Now, if you're only using this business for tax advantages or to have cool cars in your garage at little to no payments, then that's a different story. But if you're looking to cash flow and become a real profitable rental car company, your vehicle selection is literally going to make or break your business. The first few vehicles are going to set the tone, especially if you have investors. If you guide investors to purchase the wrong vehicle and it doesn't do well, that's not going to be good for your name. It's not going to be good for your business. If you're the one purchasing the vehicles to start, it goes without saying, right? It's not going to be good for you. If you give a really strong reflection on your beginning vehicles with investors and the vehicles that you purchase, you're going to have very good case studies. People are just going to want to hand you literally their cars that they already own, or they're going to want to purchase vehicles for your fleet because they see the returns on the numbers. That wraps it up for all the tips that I have. This is just 5 simple tips to help you avoid losing a lot of money in the business. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. What you have to understand is that most people don't make a lot of money because they wait too long to even get started. Don't miss the train on the car rental industry. The car rental industry is expected to double in revenue globally. Right now, it's doing around $100 billion per year. In the next 5 years, it is projected to be a $200 billion industry. There's a very small golden era right now that if this is a business you want to get into, you want to get into it now. With that said, if you need help starting this business, or this is something you've been really interested in, apply in the link below for the one-on-one mentorship with me. I'm only accepting a certain number of students at a time because I do work with them one-on-one. So please check out the link in the description. Until the next video, I appreciate you watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment with any questions that you may have. See you next time.